The housing crisis, I feel, is the #1 underreported story in the nation, but it's also the #1 story. Everybody looks outside their house, they see the tents, and they also know what their financial situation is I'm not far away. We have not been able to report decreases in homelessness year in and year out. The number just keeps going up, and it goes up much the same way that the cost of housing goes up. People will talk about addressing homelessness with every other answer except housing. So what we did was we went to folks that were living in encampments. We spoke to 150 different people, and then we asked them questions about the sweeps, how often they were getting swept, where they were moving to. Finding was that 83% of the people that we talked to had been caught up in at least one sweep, and those that had been caught up in sweeps, the average was about 3.5 sweeps. There was a fair amount of folks that were caught up in more than 10 sweeps. But that's over a long period of time. How many times? And they could have been talking 3 or 4 or 5 years. The report shows that of the 150 people that we interviewed, 8 of those folks had come into some housing after being swept. 70% of the folks reported that they were moving within a block or two of where they're being swept from, and many reported that after a while they would wind up just at the same place they were swept from. And this has to do with people's access to services and things, or jobs.
It's difficult, to constantly pick up and move, constantly not know where you're going next, and, be looking for another place to kind of call home for the next, hopefully, week before we have to move again.
Because it's hard to carry your stuff long distances and having to relocate all the time. And so they try to stay close to where they have their life put together. They're just like the people in the houses. People in the houses, some are really nice, some are upset, some are angry, some are scared. The homeless community just looks exactly like that because that's where they came from. 91% of the respondents in the study said their first choice is to be in housing. Not a single person picked a shelter as a first choice. Although the housing situation was already bad, the number of folks out on the street, it was estimated, increased by 40% in 4 months at the start of the pandemic last year. And it just keeps growing and growing. This is just the tip of the iceberg. We haven't seen how bad it really is. So if you have 100,000 evictions that are waiting to process, and 90% of those people find some other option somehow, that's another 10,000 people out on the street, and that'll triple the number of tents and whatnot that we see. This isn't going to go away in 6 months. This is our reality until housing is available for people to have access to.